Cool. Well, hello, everyone. And thank you so much for joining us again for another Saints meetup. Tonight, I am really excited to be joined by Julia Corrie. My name is Tara Stevenson, and I serve as the Dean of Student Engagement and Career Development here at Flagler College. And each week, we love to bring on a new student leader who's really engaged on campus and doing some amazing things, even given our pandemic. So I'm excited to hear from Julia on all the different things that she is involved in. But if at any time somebody's got a question, please feel free to type it out. We are coming to you from the Student Activities Facebook page, Flagler College YouTube channel, and then here on Instagram, and we'll be monitoring all the questions and stuff. So at any time, pop them in here and we'll be sure to answer them for you. But Julia, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, definitely. Thank you so much, Tara, for inviting me to be here. I'm really excited. Hi, everyone. My name is Julia Corrie. I'm a junior here at Flagler. I'm a journalism major with a double minor in political science and pre-law. I'm a resident advisor with Flagler College Residence Life. I'm the president of Flagler College Democrats, and I'm a member of the new sorority on campus, Alpha Sigma Alpha.
My goodness. And so we
I know.
This is when I love to hear everything that people are involved in, but then I also love to think, like, when do you sleep? When do you take time for you? So before we go into all of that, I would love to know, how did you choose Flagler?
So when I was choosing schools, I knew that I wanted to stay in Florida because I'm from Orlando and I am like really close with my family. So I wanted to be like far enough away where I could feel like I was getting like a college experience, but at the same time, not so far that I couldn't like come home whenever I wanted. So what ended up happening is I was between Stetson and Flagler for like my two top schools. And like financial aid and everything aside, I really enjoyed St. Augustine more than anything, because like every fourth grade class in Florida comes to St. Augustine every year. And so like naturally my school did the same. So I came to St. Augustine and it was wild that everything was so old and everything was like so historic. Everything was so like historic, and I really enjoyed it from a young age. So knowing that there was a college here that I could attend, that was definitely one of the contributing factors, because there's always like something to do in St. Augustine, and we're near the beach, which is always a plus.
I feel like there are so many school field trips that come here that result in like coming here as a student. And yeah. I just love hearing it. Like it would be fun to actually see like how many like on an application for Flagler, like how many did you hear about from a field trip? So let's look at those three big things that you're involved in. So what is your role, and talk to me more about Flagler Democrats.
So I knew before I even came to college, after the 2016 election, I jumped right into being super passionate about politics and learning more about the Democratic Party and what it meant to be like an active voter. So as soon as I turned 18 in the fall of my freshman year after I had joined Flagler College Democrats. And so that was really exciting to see like how people got registered to vote and kind of seeing how the process worked. So I was an active member my freshman year, and then in the spring of my freshman year, the president at the time, Heather Hunter, she invited me to go to the Florida College Democrats spring convention, which was at UCF. So then I was introduced to like this whole world of college Democrats across the whole state. So that was like super exciting, and I just wanted to know more. So over time, I've kind of just like built connections with students all over the state with similar interests to me. So I play a pretty active role in that organization as well at the state level. But one thing that they really emphasize is like the importance of the chapters, like at a local level. So that's one thing that I've really tried to emphasize to all of our members, that like we there are so many connections that we can make if they want to get involved in politics in the future, or if they just want to learn more. That's definitely what keeps me like super interested and passionate about it. So I kind of just moved up from like secretary, and then I was the vice president, and now I'm the president of Flagler Democrats. So,
yeah. So you play a role with Flagler's chapter, but also within the community, correct?
Yeah, definitely. So one thing that I learned very early on is the our DEC, which is the St. John's Democratic Party. They are some of the nicest people I've ever met. They are all on the older side, so they're really happy whenever they see young people come to their meetings and stuff. So we've volunteered with them in the past. We've set up events with them and different mixers and panels. So that's really important to me. And it's of course been kind of weird this year because of COVID, but yeah, I am in contact with them, and then I work with people all over the state. So it's really interesting, honestly, to see everyone kind of come together for like a common interest.
Yeah. Wow. So again, we're always going to keep thinking like, when do you sleep? Because you're not just
right,
community, city level, and then the state level.
Yeah.
Do you mind sharing some of the different programs that you all have sponsored with Flagler Democrats?
Yeah, definitely. So we've done oh gosh, what have we done? We've done debates with the Flagler College Republicans, little like earlier on in my like college career. And then of course for the 2020 election, we had a whole series of events with debate watch parties, and we had discussions, and we've had voter registration drives in the past. So those are kind of like the big things that we do, but we also try to partner with other organizations on campus to kind of like promote both of our clubs like at the same time. So because for a lot of issues that like we're passionate about, there are like interest groups on campus for that. So that's something that we've also done.
Yeah. Well, and I think something that you all have done such a good job with, as well as our Flagler College Republicans, is create these opportunities to work together.
Yeah.
You know, that you can do these debates, you could do watch parties, you could do these different collaborations where it's opening it up to all students. Not that you necessarily have to identify with a party, but that you could still attend and just learn something.
Yeah, definitely.
And I know that you've been collaborating a whole lot with a bunch of other different clubs, which can truly help you all with some of your events.
Yeah.
Awesome. So then the next role that you mentioned was that you serve as a resident advisor with Res Life. And so what is that like? Maybe we've got some students who are not familiar with Residence Life, or maybe prospective students checking this video out. Tell us what it's like.
Yeah. So my freshman year, they had a different process when it came to Residence Life. So you would join your first year as an RA, and then your third year on staff, you would become like a head RA or a senior RA. But going into my sophomore year, they created like a new system where for new staff members to get their like a kind of footing before they became like an RA, where they could have like a hall to themselves, the role of a community advisor kind of formed. And so that really interested me as a freshman, because both of my RAs my freshman year, so Avery Tyler, who's our current resident hall director, she was my RA in the fall of my freshman year, and then she graduated. And then Danny Creer just graduated in December. She was my RA my spring. So they were like some of my biggest like
influencers.
Yeah, definitely. So and working with Danny and Avery like the past 2 years on staff has been so amazing, and they kind of really encouraged me to kind of put myself out there and go to the CA hiring workshop, which we just had for the 2021-22 academic year this
I
past
heard
Sunday.
there was 40 students that were interested in it, which is fantastic. Unfortunately, I myself don't know if the application has closed up yet, but if anybody's got questions about it, please reach out to Residence Life.
Yeah, definitely. So being a CA, I was in Ponce, and I had one of the senior RAs as my hall partner, and it was honestly like a whole different world, because all of a sudden I was the person that like the freshman girls came to if they had questions about anything, or if they had issues with their roommate, or in their room in general, because a lot of what we do is kind of knowing what the campus has to offer and kind of pointing them in the right direction if they're not the ones that can like directly answer their questions. So
that first point of contact.
Yeah, definitely. So that has been a really like great part, because I feel like I'm helping them without saying I don't know, because a lot of the time I do know, but it's just someone else that can help them. But more than anything, being a member of Residence Life has taught me so much about working in a team and being a leader on campus, because before I hadn't really had a lot of leadership experience, like coming to college. I just like worked in a job where I was doing a lot of customer service. So I kind of used that to kind of morph into, I guess, what you could call like a student leader on Flagler's campus as time went on.
So let's think about like what's the difference between that leadership or involvement with Flagler Democrats and then Residence Life?
Yeah, so what's interesting about like the difference is that we talk a lot in like event planning for Flagler Dems is like how and if we can get like the Republicans involved, or if we can get like SGA involved, so that we can make certain issues, we can talk about them in a way that you don't necessarily have to pick a political side. But then at the same time, like at our general meetings on Thursdays, we talk about like all Democratic issues, and we go over influential figures and things that are happening right now in like legislative session. It's kind of like a nice, I'm not going to call it a break, because that's not what it is. It's kind of like when I have like my RA hat on, like when I did when I planned the whole like election event in the fall, it wasn't a Flagler Dems event, it was a Residence Life event. So we were kind of emphasizing how everyone that lives on campus can get involved in one way or another, even if they don't necessarily want to watch the election results in the room with the Republicans or with the Democrats. So that's why we had like kind of a common space where like SGA was watching it.
Yeah.
So
it's kind of fascinating. Like it sounds like you've made these two roles like their own houses, but then you've also combined them when it works. And it's the regular meetings for Flagler Democrats are Thursdays at 7 p.m., correct?
Yeah, usually they're in the Virginia room unless stated otherwise. So this week it's in the Virginia room at 7.
And is there a virtual option, or do people typically just come to the Virginia room?
Yeah, definitely. So in Saints Connect, there should be an option under all of our general meetings for a Zoom link, and as well as an in-person option as well.
Gotcha. I know it's fascinating to think, like, I wonder in a year if we're still going to have in-person meetings and virtual ones happening at the same time, and what that does for our attendance.
Right.
Things to figure out another day. So we've got this third thing that has happened this academic year. Now we have our very first sorority as a part of Greek life, Alpha Sigma Alpha. So can you tell us a little bit about that and what your role is with that?
Yeah, so going into this year, I was unsure about joining just because I didn't really know what it was about and what it would entail joining it, because I know that a lot of big schools, Greek life can be perceived as like really scary and really expensive, and it's a lot of like slapping on the wrist if you do something wrong, and that's just like the whole gist of it.
Yeah,
but
there's stereotypes that come with it, obviously. Yeah.
Right. But Jamie Logan, who's the leadership consultant for our emerging chapter of ASA, has really been super supportive and kind, like from the get-go. So she just said, let's get in contact. You can come to some of our recruitment events and see how you like it. And then we can kind of move on from there and see if it's for you. So I went to the first recruitment event in January, and I knew from the start that it wasn't like a typical sorority where they were like judging you if you didn't look a certain way or if you didn't like act a certain way. So that is kind of something that drew me in to want to be involved, because I knew that because it was the first year that it was happening, every girl that was in the room wanted it to succeed. And it wasn't so much about like a superiority complex about like, I've been in it longer than you and I've done X, Y, and Z, like what have you done? It wasn't like that at all. And I think in coming years, when we're a more established chapter, we're not going to be like that at all, because it just is not the kind of environment where you are made to feel left out and like made to feel like you're out of the loop or something like that. So we've kind of shaped like a culture of like supporting each other, which I really like about ASA. So
it sounds like you all have really focused a lot on creating that strong foundation that is not what some of those stereotypes or things that we hear about at big schools. And I love to use the term Flaglerizing things. And like what you have truly done is Flaglerize a sorority from what we may have as expectations to where it's truly something that a lot of students are loving and appreciating.
Yeah, definitely.
How many are involved so far?
I think right now there's about like 45.
Whoa.
I think.
I don't even think I knew that.
45 has paid like their initiation dues, and we're like a part of committees at this point. So we have been given like a whole kind of like a guidebook as to how we can create like a successful establishing chapter. So that has been probably like the most exciting part, especially because at the end of this semester, we're finally going to be like installed as an official chapter within like the national organization. So first we have to like get all of the groundwork finished, of course, but that's definitely been like one of the most like rewarding parts of it.
Yeah. Now I know like a typical sorority typically has like you're pledging and rushing, and then you accept a bid, and then there's a process there. Are you able to share kind of what that timeline looks like at Flagler? Because I know it's a little bit different.
Yeah. So we haven't established like the super concrete details of the like rush week in the fall, but I think what's going to happen is it's going to kind of resemble what happened in the spring at kind of like a quicker level. So we'll have like a week where we'll have recruitment events, and we'll kind of be available for new students to ask questions and get any like concerns that they may have about joining out, so that like by the time that like bids roll around, it's kind of like they know what they're getting into. And that was something that Jamie really emphasized to me when we met one-on-one before I joined, is that I was confused about dues, and I was confused about like if there was like an executive board already established. So that's kind of the purpose of Rush Week. It's not so much about what like pledging is, like whatever like culture that's been created around that. That's definitely not what we did during recruitment. It was definitely more about like what fulfills us as a student and what fulfills us going into this new organization of women like around the country. So that was like super empowering, honestly. And I really felt like I was joining a community where I felt like I was like a valued member of it. And I like still feel like that. And I want new students in the fall during that week to feel the same way.
Yeah. And so at Flagler, we have Alpha Sigma Alpha, which is establishing as a National Panhellenic Council sorority. And then we also have Phi Alpha Omega, which is a service community service-based organization. And they're both operating at this same time. They're both well known and very strong organizations. It just depends on, you know, the student's interest and what they'd like from it. And so Julia, thank you for sharing a little bit more about Alpha Sigma Alpha since it is so new.
Yeah, and with Phi Alpha Omega, we've definitely had like conversations about having like community service events with them. Like it's definitely not going to be the kind of vibe where we're like butting heads with them or like we're competing against them. That's definitely like not what's going to happen at all. Like we've established like a really good relationship with them. So I'm so excited to see how we both kind of work together, especially in the fall, because like the spring is just kind of all over the place right now because we're like establishing and everything. But the fall is definitely going to be a little bit more organized. But
well, and I think because Flagler is smaller, the opportunities to collaborate are there. The opportunities like to not compete are there because we are smaller and there's some students that are involved in so many different things. I feel like that's one good thing that's come out from this pandemic is seeing all the collaborations that these clubs are doing. Is we know that times are a little bit tough and we got to get creative, but when you're working together, that's definitely helping out.
Yeah, and it definitely like lightens the load when it comes to figuring out logistics of events, and especially with COVID, making sure that everything is like safe and like up to like the school's like regulations. So that's also been like super helpful.
Yeah. Oh, 100% agree. So obviously you're a junior involved in these three huge major things. Was there anything else that maybe you tried out your first or second year at Flagler and then decided this is not where I'm meant to be and I'm going to kind of move over this way?
Yeah, well, this thing is that I wanted to get involved like as much as I could, and that involved like my fall club night was one of the most wild experiences because as you can imagine, like pre-COVID, there were so many tables, there were so many people, especially because it was like during, I think it was like during welcome week. So there was a lot of activity on campus.
Yeah.
So I signed up for like 1 million email lists and I was so incredibly overwhelmed. So I had tried, what did I try? I tried TAB, I tried FCV, I tried Model UN, but like what ended up happening is that I saw where my interests were, and I think that I found future opportunities to collaborate with them rather than joining in such a way where I could be in a leadership role eventually. So we've definitely participated in like FCV's Day of Service, and we've worked with CAB on different events. So, but with Model UN, that just ended up not being for me. But and those two in particular, I ended up working with them in the future. So it kind of worked out. It really just depends on what you're most passionate about and like what you want to see like come out of your college experience. And I definitely found that with DEMS and like being an RA, and like now I'm in ASA, and I also go to SGA because I just like being there, and I like seeing like what's going on. So
Yeah. And for those of you that don't know, club night happens at the beginning of every semester. Obviously, our fall one is a little bit bigger because we have more students that are starting with us for the academic year. Pre-COVID, it would be outside with tables all over our campus, it would seem like, that were representing different clubs, and just everybody would come out. And that's where you got to find out about all the different clubs from returning students. And so, yes, I think it's expected that we all sign up for like everything and just see what it is, because we don't really know.
Yeah, and COVID time just makes everything just a little bit more difficult because like it's on Zoom, and that's great. Like I really enjoyed seeing like all the different clubs that came out, but I think there's just like an element to that I don't know. I hope we can get back there eventually, but
yeah. Well, and I know
right now.
This year we tried to do maybe some club spotlights where our clubs got to do some tabling in the beginning of the academic year, kind of on their own. I've seen a lot more clubs doing tabling this year than in the past, which I think is great. But yes, I agree. Club night does look a little bit different during COVID. So you touched on this a little bit earlier, but I love to ask every guest, what would you say to someone about why they should get involved?
Well, I think like one of the main reasons I chose Flagler is because there are not thousands and thousands of students and like a million different departments with so many different people involved where you're gonna have to go through like 100 hoops to get the answer that you want about literally anything. So one thing that I really enjoy about being involved at Flagler is knowing who to go to for whatever issue I'm having, or like whatever I want like my club to do. Like for example, we're getting involved with the Diversity and Inclusion Office in the future for Women's History Month. So, and they were super excited to have us and for us to be engaged in that way. So I think getting involved is kind of like the best thing you can do, honestly, because you want a rewarding college experience. Like everyone is paying to be here, of course, and we're paying to get an education and get a degree, but it's not just that. And I know it's kind of cheesy, but like Flagler's whole thing is like we're making history, and I think it kind of starts here, and it starts as like a freshman going in to join new clubs and figure out what they like and what they don't like. And it's yeah, I if anyone has any questions about getting involved in anything, I feel like I know the school like the back of my hand at this point.
Well, your involvement is kind of
right.
so different and all over the place. But that's probably what helps you balance it all and what makes each one rewarding.
Yeah.
Well, if anybody is looking for different events, whether it's with any of Julia's clubs or what else is coming up, they're always in Saints Connect. I know you're partnering with Diversity and Inclusion on a movie showing coming up. And I'm sure there's going to be some other collaborations that are in the future. And then any of the ASA events are in there. I'm not too sure with Residence Life if their events, I think some of the events are put in there prior, but again, those are typically reserved for those residents that are within that hall.
Yeah, definitely.
Awesome. Well, can you think of anything else that we want to share about student involvement or what it means to be here at Flagler?
I know a lot of students are like confused about events this semester, but because I've been in so many like trainings with Saints Connect, I feel like it's just like normal for me now. But Saints Connect is like one of the best things Flagler has ever done, I think, because I know every time I say that, I get so excited. But it's kind of just like a one-stop shop for any club or any event that you want to see, and because they're all listed there, and I think that getting involved starts there at this point, honestly. So yeah, Saints Connect is honestly the way to go.
I
hope that never changes.
Thank you. I've been shouting from the rooftops that our students are using Saints Connect. I can see all the usage in there. I was so excited yesterday to present to a few on campus, that like 214 student events were held in just the month of February alone. And so, yes, we're in a pandemic, but we were able to see that through Saints Connect. And we were able to see that over 1,400 students attended these different events. Like, that's great for us to share, but it's also a great way for you to get connected with these different clubs and see what's going on, or, you know, RSVP for something. I honestly love the email reminders that say, hey, you RSVP this event, don't forget.
Yeah, definitely. And it's a great way for like club officers to reach out to students, because they have like email templates and they can send out like a bunch of different reminders. So that has been a really great like contributing factor to membership this semester, especially because of COVID. Everything, like every club has honestly been affected by it. So that has been the best way, especially because they offer like virtual options where they can just create a link for you and then you just have to sign in and that's it.
Yeah. Yeah, I think the system does a whole lot for you that many of us don't realize. I think every week I learn something new within it. Well, we typically get people who like to watch this to hear from our student leaders, but we also get those that are seeking co-curricular credit. And so I have started now asking my guests to give us one keyword for co-curricular. So what's one word that you would like our students to email tonight? It can be any word.
I'm gonna say donkey for Democrats.
Donkey. All right. So if you are seeking co-curricular credit, either watching this with us now or in a recording later on, please email the word donkey to studentactivities@flagler.edu, and I will be sure to add you into the event for it. I'm just honestly loving these words that people come up with. I will never forget Dr. Rivera saying WandaVision. That was his keyword for it. But tonight is donkey. That's what we're going with. So thank you all so much. As I do like to finish and end these up, please be safe, make good choices, mask up. We are doing such an amazing job as a campus. I was excited when we moved to level 2 because that means that our campus community was really working hard to make sure that health and safety was at the forefront. And so please know it is very much appreciated on my part. Next week, we won't be having a Saints meetup because it is spring break. And so please enjoy your spring break on Thursday and Friday if you're a current student. We're going to continue making good choices because we are getting closer and closer to the end of the semester. And I honestly don't know yet who will be joining me for Saints meetup on the 23rd. But we'll see what happens when we get there. So thank you all so much. Don't forget to email your co-curricular word, and we hope you have a great night. Bye.